I think you're going to be fine. Okay, guys, this coal mine was started by the Phillips brothers, who came here way back in 1890. They mined the Sewell seam, and it is visible on both sides at the lower portion of the rib. It's bituminous coal. To find the anthracite coal, you'll need to go north into Pennsylvania. On my left, as I'm looking back here, is the old entrance to the coal mine. That caved in many, many years ago. They moved the entrance up to where we are now. So it ran from around 1890 till 1910, roughly a 20-year lifespan, but it was a real coal mine. We had a company called Genmar Incorporated and another company called Affinity Coal, who came in here and rebolted our coal mine from front to back about a year and a half ago. That's the pizza pan things you see along the wall. So I'm very comfortable with the top in this coal mine. Most important question here, is everybody okay?
Yes.
All right, we're going to go up to 2 and talk things over. When you're thinking about mining height in this coal mine, think low, about 8-10 inches above the handrails on your car.
Something like that.
Where the rain never falls and the sun never shines, it's dark as a dungeon way down in the mines, where dangers are doubled and pleasures are few, where it's dark as a dungeon and damp as the dew, where the rain never falls and the sun never shines, it's dark as a dungeon way down in the mines. And you guys are going to find out how dark that is. Okay, here we have the Sewell seam that they mine, averages about 38 inches right there. When coal mining first started, it goes way back. Back in 1702, coal was used in a forge along the James River in Virginia. In those early days, when they would come into the coal mine, they'd do a safety run through the mine to check it before all the other coal miners came in. And in those early days, they used torches and candles. And then another little thing called a teapot, which came along a little later. It works off of kerosene. You just fill it full of kerosene, light the wick. Here's a flame about that tall. Put that on your cap and walk in there and mine coal. Those folks who did that safety run early on before the other miners came in encountered some dangerous atmospheric conditions. One of them was methane gas. Methane seeps right out of the coal seam while you're mining. Any coal miners on here with us? Okay. All right. So I can make up anything I want to, can't I? So that methane is lighter. It migrates to the top. Then you would come through with a candle or a torch. Well, hopefully you're going to have your mine ventilated. They would mine in 100 feet or so, then mine right back out to the outside and build a furnace right there. The updraft of the furnace made air flow through the coal mine. But Even with ventilation, sometimes there was still methane left in there. Sometimes it was strong enough that it blew up the coal mine. We had lots of coal mine explosions in those early years. One county, West Virginia has 55 counties. One county, McDowell County, that one county had 25 mine disasters. Now, let's assume that we've got the methane, but the coal mine didn't blow up. Well, what's going to happen then is those guys are going to encounter pockets of methane, and when they do, it'll light up and roll across the top. Whoosh. And then they go to a different area, they'll hit another pocket, whoosh. Flames roll across the top. My middle name, one fist of iron and the other of steel. If the right one don't get you, then the left one will. You load 16 tons, and what do you get? Another day over it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we know that there were ponies underground. The larger mines used mules. There were canaries underground. But there was something else underground with those coal miners while they worked. What was it?
Bats.
What rhymes with bat?
Rats.
Yes, rats in the coal mine. You got it.
Yeah.
The miners did not kill the rats back in those early days. Many of the miners fed the rats. They wanted a healthy population. Early warning system. Mm-hmm. If you were working back in there and you looked on that line that we came off of and you saw all the rats heading up in one direction as fast as they could go, what's your best bet? Follow those rats. It's going to be beneficial to your health. They know something you don't know. All right. You know, yes, they kept mules underground, they kept ponies underground, they even had stalls underground and had hay in those stalls and fed them hay. But a problem developed, and that was that if you kept them in those stalls underground too long, they go blind. So legislation was passed that states you have to bring the animals out on Friday evening, graze them on green grass over the weekend, bring them back in on Monday morning. This is called a coal miner's place, and his job here is to get that coal out of the seam. First thing you're going to do is get a pick, lay down in front of that coal, and pick away at that hard rock beneath the seam of coal. I'm not going to lay down there, but here we go. Get it out and put it along the side. Hard work. When you, yes, what? Okay, go right ahead. Yeah, it's your tour. Yeah.
No, we were just saying, God, they worked hard.
Oh boy, did they ever. Yes. The next thing you got to do is drill holes. And you're going to use a breast auger. Here we have one. About 3 holes across. And you just put the tip of it into the coal seam, put the breastplate right up against your midsection, lean in, push and turn, and push and turn. That's going to go up about this area right here. in about 15 minutes, maybe 20, you'll have a hole drilled back in the hole. Then you're going to need a tamping rod, which we have, and you're going to need a Sears catalog. If you didn't have a Sears catalog, a Montgomery board would do. Always keep your head down when you're in the coal mine. Now, you're going to tear out a couple of pages, roll those up into a cylinder, and crimp the bottom. Now you're going to get your black powder, pour it full, then crimp the top. Make 2 of those. 2 packages of black powder, put it back inside the hole you drilled, take the tamping rod, shove it all the way to the back, gently. Then you're going to need some dust or mud. Usually plenty of it laying around. Put the dust, mud in the hole, tamp it up. Put more in, tamp it up. Fill it up all the way out to the entrance. Then you're going to need a needle. Take the needle and put it in that packed hole and push it all the way back into that black powder. Then extract that very gently, and now you got a tunnel. It goes all the way back. Get a long piece of fuse. I better get that back up. Get a long piece of fuse and go back here and put that in that little tunnel that you made. And then you're going to do that to all 3 holes. Tie the fuses together. And we're back here at the other end of the fuse. Now, if you'll permit me, I'm going to come up here so I can straighten up my back and okay, folks, now we transition and we go from that period of using a pick and shovel to using mechanized equipment. But before we get there, I want to bring your attention to a situation that a coal miner might have himself in, especially if it happened to be an older coal miner working in that low coal, down on his hands and knees, has to travel from one place to another. Well, if he had one of these things, couldn't he be happy?
Skateboard.
Yes, it's the first prototype skateboard. It's a mine scooter, a rail scooter, and the wheels are made to sit right down on the rails. Then you just put it down there, put one leg right there. You can put your lunch bucket right there, pin it with your knee, use the other leg, and send yourself down the track. And I'm told it was a very smooth ride.
Well, better than rolling.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't tried it. I've been thinking about it. Now, so in the early days, they used lots of mine timbers, and what you would do is go in and you'll take a cut of coal, clean that up, and then go in and set mine timbers. And then you would drill and shoot and get that all cleaned up, and then set more mine timbers. And just work right on back. Get a cut, clean it up, set more timbers, and go right on back. In 1970, they came out with what was called the glue bolt. Here we've got a glue bolt, and here's the glue. It used rosin glue. Put it up in the hole ahead of the bolt. Hook that up to your machine. It'll raise all that up in there. Spin it rapidly and break open the package of rosin glue, and it mixes it, and it sets up in 15 seconds. Today's miners say they can be as little as 2 to 3 seconds. So if you're on your game, that's what you got. If you're not on your game and your 15 seconds is up and you're about that high with it, then it's going to set up and you got a head knocker you have to deal with. All right. All right. If you wasn't very smart to start with by not getting it up in there, you're certainly not going to be very smart after you've whipped your head on it a few times. All right. Now, we also transitioned from that pick and shovel to this electric and hydraulic coal drill that you see laying. Man, it would drill back in there pretty quick, but it was heavy. Also, we had a Goodman cutting machine, 8-foot cutter board on it, teeth that go around like a chainsaw. It would make that coal fly. But it put out a lot of dust. The miners who breathed that dust unfortunately got a terrible disease called
Black lung.
Yes, black lung, miner's pneumonia. In 1911, 1912, they discovered that if you took powdered limestone rock dust, like that we have over there, threw that up against the top and turned it white. Put it against your ribs, the top. Turn your coal mine white, it was much safer. It covered up all that coal, that coal dust that was there, and that coal dust was not available to explode. So they started rock dusting the coal mine. It hand by first, and then here we have an early rock duster. Put 50 pounds of rock dust in the hopper, turn it on, and hook your hose up to that outlet, and you could rock dust your coal mine. Unfortunately, the miners who breathed that dust got a different disease called silicosis.
Oh, yeah.
Those old miners, yeah, when they say, old Jim, he's got rock dust. That's what they'd say. I had an uncle who had both of those diseases at the same time. Now, another thing, I know this is depressing stuff, I know it is, but that's part of the tour, and I could skip it and I could talk about other things and try to just to make you laugh all the time, but it's just history and you got to have it. So there is a larger kettle bottom, there's a smaller one. What's that thing look like it used to be at one time? It used to be a tree stump. It was made of wood. Now it is petrified, it's heavy, it's hard, it's rock. And that could be anywhere in your coal environment. If it happened to be right above your head, you're in low coal, you're crawling under that thing. You can't look up all the time. You crawl under it, it falls out. They could fall out at any moment. Well, it's going to be a bad day for you, a bad day for your family. We didn't have all the social programs back in those early days, and a widow in a coal camp had a really hard way to go. She was in big, big trouble when she lost the breadwinner. Yes. All right. There's a story, and I don't know how true it is or not, but there's a story that when her husband was killed by a kettle bottom, the coal miners would get that kettle bottom, take number 4, number 4, number 3 motor, leave a number 4.
parents can just.
The entire house.
Tiny house.
Already bought.
Worse than porta potties. I'd rather been in a porta potty than in an outhouse.
Now boarding the 11 o'clock tour, orange wristbands. Now boarding the 11 o'clock tour, orange wristbands, 31 passengers.
Don't need.
Person on the train tour said that on the upstairs of that building there's a museum.
What?
The person on the train tour said that on the upstairs of that building there's a museum.
All right.
What's this?